The royals head to London as mourners flood in for Diana's funeral. Fresh worries about new mothers rushing home with their babies, and Pat Rafter into the US Open semis.
From National 9 News, this is Nightline with Jim Waley.
Good evening. With less than 24 hours till Princess Diana's funeral, crowds are swelling in London, with 5 million people now expected to pay their last respects. Nine Network reporter Mark Ferguson joins us now from London. And Mark, what are the royal family's movements?
Well, Jim, after being locked away for days, there is now a flurry of activity from the royal family. Prince Charles, Prince William and Prince Harry are expected to arrive here in London within minutes. They will be followed shortly after by the Queen. Her Majesty will then make a live broadcast to the nation. That will be at 6 p.m. local time, around 3 a.m. on the eastern states in Australia. There are then reports that she may even go on a walkabout around Buckingham Palace and St James's Palace to thank the people personally for their support. Out of seclusion and into the spotlight, two grieving boys attempting to draw some comfort from the floral tributes left in memory of their mother. Prince Harry reaching for his father's hand outside Balmoral Castle. A family coming to terms with its loss, or a family intent on damage control after a public outcry that the House of Windsor was not doing enough to mourn Diana.
Well, I think the Queen's responded to the power of the people rather than the power of the press.
A short time ago, Prince Charles and his two sons left Balmoral Castle behind, bound for London, where they will go to St James's Palace to pay their respects beside Diana's coffin. The beginning of a very public ordeal for two young princes who've craved only privacy until now. The Queen is also on her way to London, from where she will make a broadcast to the nation later tonight.
The Queen has asked me to say that the royal family have been hurt by suggestions that they are indifferent to the country's sorrow at the tragic death of the Princess of Wales. The Princess was a much-loved national figure, but she was also a mother whose sons miss her deeply.
The first royals to appear near the palace, Prince Andrew and Prince Edward, on a walkabout to meet mourners.
Nice to see you, sir.
The Queen has bowed to public pressure and will now fly the Union Jack at half-mast above Buckingham Palace for Diana's funeral. A funeral that will be closer to a family service than an occasion of state. Diana's sisters and brother will pay tribute. Her friend Elton John will sing a reworked version of Candle in the Wind. It will begin Goodbye, England's Rose.
And I would like to know you, but I was just candle burned out long before.
Elton John has said it will be the most difficult song he has ever sung.
It's a beautiful lyric, and fitting for her.
Offering their support at the MTV Awards, the Spice Girls.
She is a fantastic ambassador for Great Britain.
The Princess of Wales is now to be buried within the grounds of the Spencer family home in Northamptonshire, rather than in the Spencer Chapel in the local village. It was feared the original site would have been overrun by the public. The new burial site on an island within a lake on the grounds will allow Diana's family to visit in total privacy. In London, Mark Ferguson for Nightline.
A sign tonight of the deep feelings in Australia over the death of Diana. Thousands of mourners gathered at St Peter's Cathedral in Adelaide for a memorial service. South Australian Premier John Olsen was one of many dignitaries who attended. The crowd, believed to be the largest ever to gather at the cathedral, spilled onto the lawns and blocked surrounding streets. And Nine's coverage of Diana's funeral will begin at 6 o'clock tomorrow night, Eastern Time, hosted by Ray Martin. In other news, 69 Palestinians have been arrested on the West Bank after yesterday's triple suicide bombing in a Jerusalem shopping mall, which killed 7 people. Israel is threatening stringent new security measures. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu again laying blame on PLO leader Yasser Arafat.
The bombs were studded with nails, apparently set off by the suicide bombers within seconds of each other. Hundreds of shoppers and tourists were crowded in the pedestrian mall, lined with shops, cafes, and American fast food restaurants. 12-year-old Moshe Abramson was in the Dunkin' Donut shop.
Oh, it's here, and I don't want to get hurt anymore.
Among the injured Americans, Greg Salzman, visited in the hospital by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who called the young man's father in New Jersey.
All right, your son is all right. He's next to me. He's a little shaken, but he's going to be all right.
10 minutes before the blast, his companion had seen a man he now believes was one of the bombers, a man dressed as a woman.
I said, that's odd. I never saw that in Jerusalem.
There is evidence that members of Hamas had been discussing plans to conduct dramatic terrorist operations because of Secretary of State Madeleine Albright's visit here next week. Those sources also say it appears the bombers have received help from Hezbollah groups in Lebanon and possibly Iran or Syria. Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat today insisted the bombers had not come from territory he controls.
I condemn completely these terrorist activities.
Empty words, say Israeli government officials. They are still furious that just 2 weeks ago, Arafat publicly embraced the political leader of Hamas.
They brandish their guns, and the worst of it is that Arafat personally hugs and kisses the Hamas leaders.
The cycle continues. The Israelis, who had just begun lifting restrictions on Palestinians after the last bombing, have now imposed them again.
There's been another tragic loss of Israeli lives, with 11 commandos killed during a raid into southern Lebanon. The soldiers were killed and 4 others wounded during 4 hours of fighting with pro-Iranian and pro-Syrian guerrillas. The battle took place beyond Israel's self-declared security zone, Israel using helicopter gunships, warships and jet fighters during the clash. It's the Israeli army's heaviest casualty toll in a single incident since the invasion of Lebanon in 1982. The breaching of financial disclosure rules by SOCOG board member Nick Greiner has not fazed Sydney's Olympics chief Michael Knight. Mr. Knight says the fact that the former New South Wales Premier failed to disclose his directorship of a company that won an Olympic contract is a minor matter.
The revelation about the directors came as SOCOG's top brass were reporting to the International Olympic Committee in Switzerland.
We'll have a look at reviewing our procedures on corporate governance. We'll have another close look at it through the Audit Committee.
The most serious allegation is against Nick Greiner, conceding he failed to tell the board he was a director of a sports management firm advising the construction company Abbey Group, just awarded the $197 million Olympic Entertainment Centre contract. Mr. Greiner is reported as saying, "It was a mistake, I should have declared it."
It would have been preferable if some of the matters had been declared, as Nick Greiner and others have said.
Michael Knight denied any impropriety, saying that at best the situation was sloppy practice, and that will change. In Lausanne, the mood is tense ahead of the 2004 host city decision. It remains an even race between Athens, Rome, Buenos Aires, Stockholm and Cape Town.
We have a strong case.
One thing is for sure, however, the IOC members here are saying it's been one of the dirtiest campaigns in decades. Public slanging matches between bid cities and allegations of graft and corruption. But from all this, a winner will be known tonight. The decision announced here in less than 8 hours' time. In Lausanne, Switzerland, Michael Usher for Nightline.
After the break, Australian trials for a cancer vaccine, and one of our fastest maxi yachts goes up in flames. An inquest into the demolition of the old Canberra hospital, which killed a 12-year-old girl in July, opened today. Katie Bender died after being hit by flying debris while watching the implosion with her family and hundreds of other people. Her 2 sisters attended today's proceedings, during which the counsel assisting the coroner warned against speculation over criminal charges. The inquest will resume in October. One of Australia's fastest maxi yachts has been destroyed by fire. The blaze broke out on the Foxtel Amazon early this morning at Sydney's Cruising Yacht Club. The $1 million maxi, which finished 3rd in last year's Sydney to Hobart, was only recently refitted. The cause of the fire is not known. In the first case of its kind in Victoria, a policewoman is suing the force for alleged discrimination and sexual harassment, claiming to be suffering severe depression. Senior Constable Narelle McKenna still wants to stay in the force.
Senior Constable Narelle McKenna claims her health and working life were severely affected by the sexist and hostile attitude of colleagues at Bairnsdale Police Station.
She was singled out for hostile treatment.
It's also alleged she was subjected to sexual harassment. It's claimed an officer pulled her into his lap, grabbed her and tried to lock her in a holding cell, and that she was asked for oral sex. Senior Constable McKenna also alleges that during a 2-year period from 1993, her work was criticised and she was denied access to four-wheel drive courses and special duties such as the bicycle squad. There were derogatory and inaccurate comments and disciplinary action until she transferred.
Ms McKenna wanted a fair go in the police force. She wanted access to the same opportunities as her male colleagues.
Solicitor Mark Champion from Holding Redlick today attempted to settle the case in the Anti-Discrimination Tribunal before proceeding to a full hearing. Also present, a sergeant from the Force's Equal Employment Opportunity Unit. The reaction of Senior Constable McKenna's police force colleagues has been mixed. The lawyer says it ranges from absolute support to overt hostility. She is seeking compensation and the withdrawal of the disciplinary action.
We think we've come a long way in terms of women's rights in the workforce, but cases of this kind, I think, show we've got a long way to go.
Jane Hodgkinson for Nightline.
Assault charges against rugby league star Daryl Trindle have been dismissed. It had been alleged the South Sydney skipper had assaulted 2 men and a woman at a King's Cross bar 2 years ago. However, the judge said there was a real possibility that an eyewitness had mistakenly identified Trindle as the attacker. Trindle's lawyer said his client should never have been charged.
I think that they selected the nearest Aborigine and charged him. Happened to be Daryl.
Despite great medical advances, cancer sadly remains a death sentence for many sufferers. Now, in Melbourne, researchers are preparing to use a vaccine on patients with brain and spinal tumours for whom conventional treatment often fails. It could benefit sufferers as young as 11-month-old Colin De Piazza.
It's impossible for surgeons to remove all of Colin's tumour without seriously damaging his spinal cord.
What you can see is when he came in, his legs were really completely floppy. He wasn't moving them at all. And they actually got progressively worse over a short time that he was in here. Sorry, buddy.
But surgeons have done what they can by safely removing most of the tumour.
Is he back to full strength yet, do you think?
No, about 9% strength.
Yet despite surgery and chemotherapy, Colin's prognosis is uncertain.
It's extremely serious. Only half the children with this type of tumour that we see will survive.
For many, conventional treatments just don't work. And it's for these patients that researchers both in Australia and the United States hope to treat with a vaccine.
It's only just the research that we've found now, over the last 2 years, that have been able to give us any hope. Without that research, he'd be gone. We'd lose him.
Trials will begin in conjunction with the Ludwig Institute and the Royal Melbourne Hospital.
He's a fighter. He'll be all right.
Belinda Byrne for Nightline.
There was mixed news today for Victorian Premier Jeff Kennett, the man who loves to snare the big events. Melbourne's chances of hosting Olympic soccer matches now appear doomed. Mr Kennett says demands by the organising committee for Victoria to underwrite more than $25 million in costs are unreasonable. There was some compensation, though. The MCG will host Australia's last qualifying match for next year's World Cup soccer in November. New South Wales Premier Bob Carr, on the other hand, has scored another Olympic coup. While visiting Athens, he's announced that antiquities never seen before outside Greece will be on show in Sydney in the year 2000. The Powerhouse Museum will display up to 70 pieces dating back to the 8th century BC. In a moment, the push to get new mothers home with their babies, the worries about potential dangers. Within a generation, depression will be the world's second most costly medical problem, beaten only by heart disease. New Australian research says women are more susceptible to postnatal depression if they leave hospital early after having their baby. With new mothers under pressure to leave hospital as soon as possible to save costs, is it time for a rethink? Hugh Remington reports.
That's wonderful, wonderful
Birth
job.
is a lottery. Boy or girl, healthy or sick. And for the mother, it's a gamble with mental health. A 1 in 10 chance birth will pitch them into serious depression.
I can put him down one day and he's fine. Next day, he's just screaming all day.
Kylie Talbot found she was struggling. A family member suffering postnatal depression had committed suicide. Kylie sought help.
I can really understand how people abuse their children. Like, I'd never do it. Like, as they say, if you can't cope, walk out of the room. And you walk out of the room and they're just bellowing and bellowing and bellowing, and you're just like, I'm not going in, I'm not going out.
Thousands of Australians every year have similar feelings.
First-time mothers, you know, they haven't been taught how to be a mother. I mean, some women become suicidal and feel that, you know, life just isn't worth living.
Now, for the first time, a study in Australia says postnatal depression can be linked to the length of time the mother stays in hospital after giving birth. Stay less than 72 hours, says the study, and the risks double. The study's co-author, Professor Philip Boyce.
I think the important message is women do need time to adapt to their new baby.
In about 1 in every 600 births, the mother tips into full psychosis, putting at risk both the woman and her child. With early discharge, the first symptoms may not show up before the mother leaves hospital. And yet, for all the dramatic dangers of mothers in psychotic states, the experts say it's the more common forms of postnatal depression that cause the most concern. It's because it is common, because the mothers often become isolated and the impact can damage families for life.
Follow-up studies looking at these children up to 5, 6, 7 years of age show that there is increased risk of these children being developmentally delayed and having significant behavioural problems. Has significant impact on marital relationship. A number of marriages break down.
Having a baby is an incredibly traumatic process for many women. They're exhausted by it. They need time to recover, both physically and emotionally.
It's become a worldwide issue. In the United States, medical insurers run the game. And they've been insisting most mothers leave hospital within 24 hours.
The insurance company is in control here. And the reason the insurance company is under control is that we're moving into a kind of managed care mode of providing health care in this country that is run primarily as businesses that seek to cut costs.
You can take a deep cleansing breath and let it out.
That economic approach might have been exported to Australia had it not met a powerful backlash in the US.
Too many new mothers are asked to get up and get out after 24 hours.
We should protect mothers and newborn babies from being forced out of the hospital in less than 48 hours.
Congress is now looking to guarantee under law a minimum 48-hour hospital stay. But if short hospital stays are linked with greater depression, why are so many women choosing to leave hospital as soon as they can? And are they wrong to do so? Megan Baker is a domiciliary midwife with Sydney's Royal Hospital for Women.
He has put on weight. Well done.
Her job as a member of the early discharge unit is to give backup to women who choose to go home, sometimes within 4 or 5 hours of giving birth.
So if you take him to the clinic in another week.
New mum Sarah Collins likes the system.
Great, yeah, fantastic. No problems really whatsoever.
Every day for 6 days from the birth, Megan will drop in to check on Sarah and baby Louis. It is, they believe, the way of the future.
I think it probably is. Yeah, and I think that's a good thing.
So if most women who leave early choose to do so, despite greater dangers to their mental health, what does that say about hospital care for new mothers?
Unfortunately, our health system's become very high-tech, and we're not really about the business about caring for people anymore. And women at this time need care for a period so they can adapt to their baby and recover physically and emotionally after the birth.
Yes.
Politicians, says Professor Boyce, take note. Hugh Remington for Nightline.
And still to come on Nightline, the finance and weather, and in sport, Pat Rafter through to the US Open semis. A preview of the AFL finals and tonight's Rugby League elimination final. Now to sport, and Pat Rafter is just one match away from his 6th final of the year, and this is the big one, the US Open. Rafter swept into the semis with a straight sets win over Magnus Larsson. His next opponent, Michael Chang, had a tougher time against Marcelo Rios.
A chance to play in a Grand Slam semi-final exposed early nerves. Both Rafter and Larson lost their opening service games, but the Australian found the prospect of choking harder to swallow, running down everything to win a first-set tiebreak.
To play very quick footwork.
Quick hands from the tournament's 13th seed broke the Swede's serve again in the second.
Yeah, reflexes.
Rafter was rarely passed, his net play making Larson look slow on his feet as the Australian took the set 6-4.
That'll do it.
Not all winners were scored at close quarters. Some came from long range. Rafter's straight sets win, ranking him among the world's top 10.
Got him.
Speaking with Australia's last US Open winner, 1973 champ John Newcombe, Rafter admitted he'd like to play Michael Chang in the semis.
We prefer to play Chang for probably reasons that, you know, there's not as much pressure again.
Chang lost to Rafter last month, and against Marcelo Rios, the American required fully charged batteries.
Chang.
Look at him scoot over. Unbelievable.
Chang won a marathon five-setter and plays Rafter on Sunday.
You know, he's playing well, so you know, once again, it's going to be a tough match.
Andrew McKinlay for Nightline.
To rugby league, and it was Illawarra against the Gold Coast in the first of the ARL finals tonight. The Steelers were heavily favoured in the sudden death game, particularly after their big win over the Chargers last week. But Gold Coast had other ideas, dominating from the start and running out comfortable winners.
The soon-to-be-merged Gold Coast had nothing to lose, swinging the ball out wide in the opening minutes of their first-ever semi-final. Illawarra struck back, courtesy of a charging run by Philly Saru.
Timmins finds Saru. He'll score.
The Steelers, though, had trouble holding the ball, letting Gold Coast's Wes Patton call the shots. This kick bouncing off the posts, and Illawarra's fullback far too slow to respond.
And I tell you what, Jeremy Sluss has got a hand to it.
Patton again featured to send Graham Mackay over.
Mackay's big and he's over the line.
The Gold Coast ahead by 10 points at half-time. Illawarra came out breathing fire. This apparent high tackle not spotted by the ref. The Gold Coast defence let them down as the Steelers began to peg back the lead.
Oh, what a run!
The Chargers gained valuable territory after Illawarra was penalised for this tackle. Then a clever kick saw Sattler scurry across.
Sattler will score!
The Steelers began a late charge, but a Patton field goal gave the Gold Coast a 7-point buffer.
And that is the ball game.
And to rub salt in the wound, an Illawarra fumble let the Chargers cross again. The final score 25-14. Raymond Dale for Nightline.
The AFL Finals Series kicks off this weekend with 4 big clashes. The first at the MCG tomorrow between the Western Bulldogs and Sydney. On Sunday, 3 more matches, and for reigning premiers North Melbourne, much will depend on the fitness of a key player. Here's Matt Dowling's preview.
A knee injury has forced Wayne Schwass to play the waiting game in the lead-up to Sunday night's final against Geelong, but the North midfielder says these daily walks at the beach have played a crucial role in getting him fit for the clash.
Probably helps as you get a little bit older. The coaches take perhaps a little bit of pity on you and say have a night off, but it's done the world of good for me, and you know, I'm 100% confident that you know, I'll be able to hold up.
Across the bay, the news wasn't as good at Cardinia Park, where a calf injury prevented Geelong's Derek Hall from taking to the track. His likely absence on Sunday, another reason not to take the Roos lightly.
We're very keen to sort of get rid of them out of the finals completely, because they are a big threat in the finals campaign, and reigning premiers, well, they're a very good team.
Injury problems also for Adelaide strongman Mark Rasciuto. He spent only 20 minutes on the track tonight, but will be given every chance to prove his fitness for Sunday's match against the West Coast Eagles at Football Park.
He's got a slight adductor strains from last week's game on top of the groin he already had, so, you know, he'll do some laps tonight and see how he feels.
And although Brisbane fell across the line in 8th spot, the Lions are approaching their clash against top-of-the-ladder St Kilda with plenty of confidence.
We're the underdogs. Everybody's pumping St Kilda up as though it's just a training run for them, and I hope they just keep doing that sort of thing.
Matt Dowling for Nightline.
Rupert Murdoch appears set to spread his sporting wings by purchasing one of America's most famous baseball teams, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Murdoch has reportedly agreed to buy the team, a stadium, and other Dodgers properties for almost $480 million. That's one of the largest sports transactions in history. The deal must be approved by owners of the other major league teams. To finance, and the Australian share market closed 17 points up today. In Tokyo, the Nikkei was up 35 points. In London tonight, the FT 100 is 8 points up in morning trading. Gold is fetching $321.70 US an ounce. And in European trading tonight, the Australian dollar is buying 73.03 US cents, 1.32 Deutschmarks, 88 yen and 46p. The national weather, and there's a low off southeastern Australia with a high over the centre of the continent and a cold front moving through the west. The forecast, fine for Brisbane and Darwin, showers in Sydney, fine for Canberra, Melbourne and Hobart, late rain in Adelaide, and for Perth, occasional showers tomorrow. That's the news this Friday night from all of us here at Nightline. Have a great weekend. Good night.